Hi, I'm Rob Greco, and I wanted to show you how to build an inexpensive deep water culture system for yourself. A couple things that you're going to need. First, you're going to need a Rubbermaid tote or a Sterilite or something similar, whatever you could find. This one here is a 41 cord. You're going to need a drill and a 2-inch hole saw. You are going to need your 2-inch net pots. You're going to need ruler, pencil, air pump, air stone, and tubing. That's all. So one of the things that we want to do is drill holes in the top of our Rubbermaid tote. So simple enough is decide how many sites you need and just pencil off your center point. So I already did it on this one, so there's no need for me to go through and measure that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes and then we'll go into the next step. Alright, so I've completed drilling all 14 holes, as you can see. Now you can go ahead and drill as many as you want. I specifically chose to do 14. You can do more, you can do less, depending on what you're growing. That'll kind of dictate the spacing between your sites here. So, believe it or not, your project is basically 90% done. The biggest task here, and most time-consuming task, really was drilling these holes out, which 4 or 5 minutes, it's no big deal. So the next thing you want to do is you want to start filling up your Rubbermaid here with your water and your nutrients. And then after that, it's as simple as setting up your air pump, your air stone, and your tubing. Price-wise, these things are relatively inexpensive. I picked this one up at a resale shop for $1. Air stone was $2.50. The tubing here was $2–3. So very minimal investment. When setting up your plants, you want to go ahead, if you've never done this before, is you want to germinate in your Rockwell cubes. I do the 1x1 cubes. Take your 2-inch net pot, stick it right down in there. Then what you do, mind you, you need to make sure that you have your nutrients in the tank. Pop it in there and let it sit. You can do a water level. Really, it's your own preference. Some people choose to go a little bit higher up on the plant. Some choose to go a little bit lower. I prefer to do about at least the bottom quarter of the Rockwell cube to be touching water. And I just let it sit like that at that water level. My plants grow great. Now, an area of concern that I've heard a lot of people say is that you don't want to use a clear tote. Well, sometimes we're at a little bit of a discretion of the manufacturer here. I've never seen a tote like this that came in all black. Black is ideal because you don't get a lot of sunlight that comes into it, or artificial light, whatever you're using, and it helps prevent the algae growth. Using the clear tote, I've had minimal problems with algae. One thing that you can do is go to the hardware store and get this weed blocker. You get 50 yards for a couple dollars, and just go ahead and just wrap the outside of this. You can use duct tape to kind of pull it all together. Do you have to do this? Absolutely not. I've run enough of these tanks just off the clear system. Great plant growth, no issues. And even so, even if I notice any type of root rot or any type of browning of the nutrients, usually what I do is just put in a couple tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide. That usually clears things up. You want to change your nutrient tank ideally once a week, but keep an eye on it. You can go sometimes up to 2 weeks, but it's your own discretion. Just remember, there are things that you can do, like block out the light to help that algae growth be as minimal as possible. You don't have to block it out. Personal preference there. Last thing, because this is somewhat of a larger tank, what I'm going to do is actually drill a 3/4 hole down at the bottom. What this is going to allow me to do is easily drain the tank whenever I have to put in new nutrients. So I went ahead and bought this. You can find this at any hydroponic store. You really won't find these at the hardware store. They're kind of a specialty product, or you can kind of make your own, whatever. This thing was about $2–3. Basically, it's just a drain plug. So what I would do here is just pop it through this hole. Screw this guy back on. And once he's tight, you can either add a piece of tubing that's long enough to come back up to the top, kind of wrap it upwards, so the tubing is higher than water level. And then when you want to drain it, just bring it back down. Or what you could do is go out and buy a valve and just turn it on and off. Your own preference. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. This just makes it easier when you're trying to change out a couple gallons of water at a time. So hopefully you learned something new here, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.